Hi, welcome to our energy series. We are Peyton, Corey, and myself, Yaila, and we like to talk about things including intuition, energy, and spirituality, and all different subjects in between. This week, we're talking about releasing resistance. So jumping in, how about you, Peyton?
Absolutely. Thanks, Yaila. Well, releasing resistance, this really is the goal of all of our energy work. This is everything we're trying to do as energy workers is release resistance. So when we talk about releasing resistance, what is resistance? And for me, resistance just means it's those situations where our energy doesn't match what we're trying to create. So you can see the resistance in your life anywhere that is not going well. So maybe it is abundance, maybe it is relationships. You can just scan your life, and anywhere where you're not happy with the way things are going, you have just identified those areas of resistance. So you can always tell where your resistance is based on how you feel. And so for me, it's that sinking feeling you get when you think about those areas of your life that really aren't working out. It's just how your body shows you that you have energy that's out of alignment, essentially. So once you've identified it, and we all have resistance, how do you release it? And for me, what the guides have been teaching me is it's so important to separate the story from the energetic charge when you're trying to release resistance. And when I talk about the story, what we're talking about is that mental narrative that you get in on those areas that aren't working. So if it's relationships, you might be in a story of thinking back about all your past relationships and how they haven't worked out and you're just doomed to be alone forever. That is the story. And our minds love the story. Our mind wants to keep us focused on the story. The problem is, the more you are stuck in the story, you will spin out there and never solve the problem. So the important thing to actually release the energy that's causing these problem areas in your life is to separate that story, that narrative, from the energy underneath it. And so my guys always describe this as, what is the feeling state around that issue? So if your story is your relationships aren't working out, well, what is the energy? How do you feel when you think about relationships? Because that's what the energetic charge is. So the energetic charge for you around relationships might be abandonment or unworthiness or rejection. And so as you kind of sit with those areas that aren't going well, so you know you have resistance there, it's a matter of getting to the energy charge underneath it. That's how we start to release resistance. So just sit with your intuition and figuring out, how do you feel about these areas that aren't working? And once you identify that, then it's much easier to actually start to do your healing work. And your healing work is what actually helps you to release that energetic resistance. So you can use any of the tools that we have talked about in our earlier videos to help you release resistance, whether that is energy protection tools. Shadow work is a great way to release resistance. Just any of your inner processes, your energy tools can help you start to release the resistance once you've kind of identified what it is. And again, my guides are always focusing people on what is the feeling state, not what is the narrative, what is the feeling state? Because as they say, that story is really irrelevant. So whatever happened to you in past relationships that you keep replaying is really just the reflection the universe is giving you that something's out of alignment. So as soon as you toss that story away, which is kind of like the Band-Aid, it's just a Band-Aid that is covering up the real problem in the area where healing needs to happen. Get to that feeling state, do your inner work. And that's how you actually can release the resistance that is causing all of those areas that you're not so happy with. So once you release the charge, guess what? That story that you don't like tends to go away. So that is how I approach releasing resistance. And it's one of those areas you really can't work on too much. So how about you, Corey? How do you release resistance?
Hello, everyone. This is such a vast, subject, because, when we said, oh, we're going to talk about releasing resistance, for me and a lot of my clients, right? And some of my students, resistance, it's like, what is resistance? Okay, well, we all know it's like, I don't want to. Okay, but resistance is, in everything is energy, and how energy flows is it goes out and it comes in and out and in and out and in, like creating this flow. Okay, so resistance is when I often, a lot of my clients are like, I keep trying to do this, I keep trying to do that, I did this angle, I did that angle, and it's just not happening. Like, what is going on? Why can't I do this? Or why can't I manifest that? And it's because I see two types of resistance. I explain to them that when you're working so hard at making something happen, the universe, guides, source, creative, all that is, it's not your path for you. So so the resistance is, okay, you put the energy out and the universe just blocks it. And then it gets dropped and you go out again and it drops it. And so that's the universe resisting what our will is, or what we really want to have. And we keep working hard towards it and nothing is happening. That is the universe resisting what your will, a lot of my clients' will is, because they want a certain thing. And that's not what the universe wants for them. The other type of resistance is when the universe is trying to give us messages, such as those random synchronicities, that it's like, come over here, we want you over here, and we're resisting you over here because we need you to come this way. And it's us that is resisting what the universe has already set up for us, or maybe something that we put out there a long time ago and we've either changed our mind or not sure. Just like Peyton, I loved that you were talking about, that story in our head. It usually, yes, does start with that story in our heads. Like, I have to have that, I have to go there, because if I don't, then, I'm doomed and my life is going to fall apart and I don't know what I'm going to. That's the story in our head. So resistance, and how do you release it? We do, like Peyton said, we have a lot of other videos, because there's not just one way to release resistance. In the beginning, when I started this journey, releasing resistance was as simple as bringing the word up, resistance, and actually just seeing what it looked like. Sometimes it was, like a cement wall in the word resistance, and all, it was just battered. And I could see, like, I'm resisting a lot. And I would just ground it out. I would just ground it and put it back into Mother Earth. And sometimes I just needed to keep doing that until I found resistance often feels like this tightness in your body. It's like, oh, so procrastination, when you don't want to do something, it's this resistance, like, I really don't want to, but as one of the many tools, bringing up that word resistance. And you can either ask, to have all the resistance that's in your body put into this word resistance, and watch it change and how much resistance you have in your body. Because a lot of times I have my clients do that because they don't actually understand why the resistance is happening. And in order to get to the why, taking that word up and looking at it, it could be even like in cloth and it's all torn up because of the resistance that's been happening, and actually grounding it down into Mother Earth to release that resistance energy. And then we're able to get to whether it's a story in the head or the fear. A lot of resistance comes from fear. You know, I ask my clients, what are you afraid of? And oftentimes I'll ask myself, what am I afraid of? Then the story starts coming out, like Peyton was mentioning. So releasing resistance is that great tool that helps us move forward when we feel stuck. Because resistance often makes us feel stuck or tension or stress when we're pushing to get something that we want and that's not what the universe wants us to have. Or the universe is trying to give us signs and signals. I mean, okay, what are some of those signs and signals? You know, some of them could be, you know, a song on the radio, could be like a billboard sign that you see with a word, you know, that maybe you're contemplating in your head, you know, what should I do? And then the answer's right there, maybe on a billboard. Or maybe synchronicity could be somebody coming to you and starting to talk about that same thing you were contemplating and gives you the answers, but you still are resistant to do it. So resisting the signs that the universe is giving us. It could be your angels or your guides, or even just plain old synchronicity, coincidence, signs. You know, so getting rid of those initial energies because they are stuck in our body is so helpful to get unstuck and to release that resistance. And, you know, the story, the fear, always tied to an emotion. So that's what I have on releasing resistance. It's pretty much, you know, energy work 101. So what have you got, Yaila?
Thank you, ladies. I just love when you both share. It's always, you know, just really great insights. To add to what you all were talking about, when I think of resistance, I know in the beginning, working on my own energy journey, I had a hard time understanding what am I resisting versus what am I learning discernment for. And that was the biggest, I think, learning curve. And I still feel like I revisit the difference between the two for myself. Like, am I truly resisting it? Or am I learning that this isn't really meant for me? And I think the biggest telltale signs for being in resistance is I want to control it. I want to control a certain outcome. I want to control that exact how something is supposed to happen. There's a lot of control energy that is kind of operating behind the scenes. And, you know, like you two are saying, what's the story I kind of have with it? Am I too far out in the future? Am I thinking too far back in the past? You know, when I try to connect with myself, I'm like, okay, am I really trying to control the situation? Because there's been times where I really wanted an outcome with people, situations, opportunities, things like that. And it just wouldn't ever find a flow. There was always some kind of hiccup and there was always something that would fall flat. You know, the energy, like you both are saying, the energy would just kind of drop and fall flat. And that for me was learning discernment as far as, okay, what's in alignment and what isn't in alignment. And then I started looking at, okay, where am I telling myself I'm trying to control a certain outcome? Obviously, you know, there's been like jobs I wanted or opportunities or a certain type of relationship. And, you know, some things kind of fell into place, but there's always something that never really found its groove. It never really had a flow. And for me, I think that is the biggest telltale sign. So there is something, you know, as far as like when you're going after a goal or you're going after a dream, sometimes it does take a little bit of initiative, but you're excited about it. There's an expansiveness about it. You get like different ideas and things to try, and there's new, you know, steps along the way that start to show themselves to you, versus when it's not meant for you, it's like no matter what you try, there's like a tightness. I loved how Corey, you said that there's like this tightness about it. There is this like, to me, it's that control. It's almost like grabby energy. Like it has to be this way. It really can only look like this. When I think of resistance, I kind of think it in like, you're like in tunnel vision. You can't really see all these other opportunities or ideas around you because you just have this, like, it has to be this certain way. There's that control. So to release that, I love what you both shared as far as, ways to release resistance. And, bringing it back really simple is, where are you trying to control an outcome? The phrase that keeps popping in my mind right now is rejection is protection. Are you finding things that you just keep constantly getting rejected in a certain scenario? Look at where your vision's at. Is it in tunnel vision? Are you only looking at these limited how it can happen? Or are you open to however the universe can bring it to you to help you reach that goal, that desire, that outcome? And so when you kind of open up your how, the control, you kind of release the control of how it has to be, you start to release the resistance, and then bringing yourself back to the present moment. Are you too far out in the future? Yes, it's good to have goals, but are you operating from this like anxiousness? That control, that tightness has like an anxious feeling about it. Or are you kind of worried, fearful, doubtful? That's some old energy coming in. So the suggestions that the ladies gave you, shadow work, inner work, energy work, as far as like actually looking at the spots in your energy of where the resistance is. I know we all have different modalities as far as working on beliefs. Theta healing is a big one to work with those old beliefs. You can kind of question where your beliefs are, and maybe it's your old beliefs that are causing you to be in resistance, causing you to only look at it through this little tunnel vision. So those are the things that I would add to resistance. But yeah, what else do you ladies have?
I love what you said, Yaila, because that was what was coming to my mind about control being a big part of this. And one thing that my guides have called out some of my clients on recently is trying to micromanage the universe. And so when we are clawing for a particular result, and it's so easy for us to do this because these are the things that we really want. And so it's hard to let go and trust. And so when we just release a little bit, when we surrender, when we get into the heart, when we trust that we're guided, and if we can just loosen that control a little bit, because I love what you said, what you guys said, there's a clinging to it. There's that clawing energy, which is always a sign of resistance. So are you trying to dictate how it happens? Because the guides always say the how is not your business. You have to let the universe decide the how. You focus on the what and how you want it to feel. And the universe's job is what it looks like, how it comes, and basically the details. And so that's one easy way to kind of take your hands off the wheel a little, not micromanage, and let it flow a little bit more. Surrender is a big part of releasing resistance for me too. So hard to do, but it'll pay off.
Yeah, and it does pay off. I mean, you're right. It's that surrender, and it takes time. It takes time to learn how to trust the universe, our guides, the angels, all of that, because we don't know them as tangible beings. And so it is that surrender and letting go and trusting. So resistance is the opposite of trusting. It really is. And but I love too, Yaila, when you talked about the control and resistance, that control. I mean, things are crazy right now. It's hard to just let go and just go, woo, okay, well, whatever's going to happen. But it doesn't really matter whether it's these times or any times. It's that controlling and trying to steer everything and resisting the way that our guides or the universe or source is trying to guide us. So I know that anger too. Anger is which is the bottom layer of anger is fear, but that anger is, reminds me of a child, yelling on the floor, having a temper tantrum. No, I won't. No. And when I think resistance, that's one of the visuals that come into my mind, you know, and we just have to surrender it, you know, like letting a child just have that temper tantrum until they're done. And then they just surrender and go, okay, all right, whatever you want, that's fine. So that's what I think of, you know, with resistance.
I think one of the things too that's coming to mind right now is, what are my expectations? You know, am I expecting certain results or people to act a certain way? Because again, that goes back to that story. So, you know, trying to discern between, all right, is it my discernment for what's in alignment or not? Or do I have a certain expectation? Again, that's that control, that micromanaging the universe, micromanaging other people. You're expecting them to be a certain way. So I start, you know, curiosity, just question yourself, where are you expecting certain things from other people or situations that are out of your control? You know, what are those expectations versus just looking at what's showing up? What is the world around you showing you? What is it mirroring back to you as far as your own beliefs and your own energy? And what is it showing you is flowing naturally if you just pay attention? So expectations, beliefs, control, really big ones. And then you can ask, how can I be in more flow along with that surrender? So ladies, any last comments for today? Well, thank you so much for watching our video. Of course, we always appreciate your likes, shares, comments. Be sure to check out our other videos. We all post different videos each week, every Wednesday. So we will see you next time. Thank you.